We... Okay. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I'm Ben.
I'm Humphrey.
Yeah, and we're going to read the Larry King interview, the interview of Jason Mraz. Okay. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest is Jason Mraz, the multi-platinum Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter. His fifth album, Yes, debuted in July, got it right here. He's currently in his worldwide tour, a worldwide tour writer among his other endeavors. Jason also owns an avocado farm. How did you get to that business?
Well, I just want to live out in the woods, and when I found this place, it turns out those trees are producing avocados, so I kept it going for a while. And then about 3 years ago, I got even more involved in transitioning the fruit into organic, which is now certified into organic.
Why do you want to live in the woods?
I like peace, you know. As a songwriter, I found that when I sing in a hotel room or when I have an apartment in Los Angeles or anywhere else, I wouldn't express myself as loudly or openly because I was nervous about the thing was. And something is very compelling about being out in the wilderness. Well, I can be as loud as I can be.
Is that a good business, avocado?
Yeah, depends on the years, but more recently, avocados, yeah, the demand has gone the way up. Cause restaurants all across the U.S. are now putting avocado as
the health factor as well as the economy, right? Is it true that you sell them to Chipotle?
It's true.
And according to Huffington Post, Chipotle uses 100,000 avocados every day.
I believe it.
How many of them do you sell?
Well, I have about 2 or 3 harvests each year. Every year, so at the most, we probably have 30 to 35,000 pounds in a year, which is a lot.
Really?
So really rely on a lot of our avocado farmers. I have heard that it's Frulies, the largest avocado buyers in the country.
Are all avocados? I'll get to sing it.
Alright, no problem.
Are all avocados the same?
They're not.
Oh, what makes a better avocado?
I have 2 varieties on my farm. I have the Reed and the Hass. Hass is what you normally see in the store. That is a classic 8 to 10 avocado. The Reed is a big melon type, and that's my favorite because you get more delicious buttery creamy avocado inside. And we use it as mayonnaise, as a spread, as screen, as pudding. It can be used for many things.
Tell me about Yes.
Okay.
That's one of your songs, yes?
Yes, it's not a song. It's mentioned in the song.
So tell me about the title.
Well, the title, I love positive articulation. That's my favorite thing in the world. And feel yes is the mother of all positive words. When we say yes, something is going to be born into this world. And impersonally, the album came out because I met my collaborator 8 years ago. I saw them perform in live their band they called Raining Jam.
Girls.
I said, you're fantastic. Would you want to collaborate? They say yes. As for 8 years, we say yes to getting together, making and writing music. Next year, our record label, our managers, they all say yes to the concept of making the record together. And so we felt yes was an apt title for what we are up to.
They're touring with you?
They're currently touring with me.
So you've been working 8 years while this is your first album together?
Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
Well, I was still doing
Single?
Yeah, I'm still doing my own solo project. So I hired a section band for every album. They have their own band. They've been touring around the country for 15 years.
Yes can be a word that gets you into trouble.
Yes, it can.
Because it's easy to say yes than no. No is a hard word to say.
Exactly. No, it's more powerful.
Is this your best word you can get?
That's my best I can get.
You're not a musician on TOEFL Cynics. Does anyone accuse you of being too positive?
Yes, yeah.
Is that a bad rap?
No, it's not. Because, when I heard people accuse me of being positive, they accuse me the way they say can be real. You can't really be that positive all the time, and they're correct. I'm not positive all the time, but I use in songwriting in the opportunity to transform my sadnesses, my depression, my melancholy into something more positive through positive articulation, and through writing these mantras set to music. And what I find important about that is the result is cheerfulness, and I find cheerfulness to be an achievement because of the work that one has to do to maintain achievement on cheerfulness or to achieve this cheerfulness.
So your work is subjective.
Yeah, it's in optimism. I think it's something also to be celebrated because the amount of optimism that we put into a project determines the success of that project.
So are all our songs up songs?
Most, yes, and if
Like Rise, Love Someone, Hello You Beautiful Thing, Long Drive, Everywhere, Best Friend, Quiet, Out of My Hands.
absolutely, Out of My Hands might be the one song that takes a slight turn, where it's about a friend that decides they're not gonna be your friend anymore. Life suddenly kind of blows, and you find yourself of being a bit of accusatory because the result of this song is saying, well, maybe sometimes, universe has a bigger story, and you just have to
Accept something that happened to you?
absolutely.
So all of them are personal?
Always, I try to write fictional tunes, and they just don't fly.
How does that work with your collaborators though? Is it personal to them or you make it personal?
It's always personal. The songs come out of conversations. They come out of lessons that we learn, and we want to then turn those stories into songs that we can sing.
Wow, that was your first break, first hit. What made it for you?
Well, I feel like I had several along the way that would advance me onto different levels throughout the years. My first hit in the mainstream world would have been called The Remedy. In 2002, 2003, I have been in a coffee shop seat. Prior to that, I made an album. When in the coffee shop scene, but that song ended up on the radio.
Is there still a coffee shop scene?
Surprisingly, there are still a coffee shop scene.
It still ended up in the folk songs?
Well, I did too, and I stumbled upon it in the 90s in Santiago, and Santiago wasn't the only city that had it. As I found out by being able to travel to other communities, other coffee shop communities, they play my shows there, and so they still exist, which is great, and I think YouTube bar artists should consider that and get out of the computer screen and make sure they spend some time in the real world, in the coffee shops.
When you were on the world tour though, how big was your finger was playing?
It can get pretty large at the moment we are touring in the theaters. I request that we play in small theaters or informal halls.
Next, Jason sounds the music landscape today and the pleasure that produces his singles. Stay with us. and there's a video that a kid is singing the Jason Mraz's song. That kid was terrific. Who was that kid?
I have no idea. I have met him personally.
It was on YouTube.
I have seen him online. He's got a lot of views.
Wow, that's your song I'm Yours, right?
With those fingers, and he just still committed to the song.
Why didn't you find him somewhere? He could be a hit.
He could. He could.
He can took you, that kid.
He could be a type that I could follow up.
This is your first ever acoustic album, right?
Yes.
Was that all scary when you lose all the bells and the whistles?
No, it wasn't actually. I've been looking for the ways to swap up the bells and whistles. And this album has plenty of bells and whistles, but I was able to choose the instruments that are more dear to my heart and more interesting to me than just electricity guitars and synthesizers.
What kind of singer are you?
What kind of singer am I?
You're not R&B, you're not a rapper, you're not a...
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm in the pop genre, of course. I grew up, I had an amazing music in my public school system, so we sing a lot of classic music, a lot of musicals, repertoire, the occasional pop songs. I grew up in listening to doo-wop music with my dad and my mom, the crooners, then the flex and ultras. So I always had that. But when I pick up the guitar, what comes out for me is I don't know. It's probably
you.
It's me.
What music format stations play your music?
I had no idea.
We've played on the radio.
I think so. Yeah.
You think so? I'll sell loud music if you want.
Exactly. I think you still need to have 8 songs on the radio to sell a decent amount of records, but none is required anymore these days.
How do they personally call you? You say that I think it's important to earn your fan base and not try to immediately advance to the top. If you rise to the top too quickly, you rise to the fall as quickly. Do you see a lot of that in today's landscape, one-hit wonders?
Yeah, I think there's always been one-hit wonders. And then we have a lot of different ways for people to quickly garner a lot of hits on the web or get a lot of fans through televisions. Which can be okay for the artists if they are looking for a way to sustain themselves for a short term, but I think it's always important to stay connected to your audience if you want to sustain and continue.
There's an American Idol. Lend itself to them, too?
It can't. I think it really is up to each artist independently. You can go for a ride and have a great time, or you can use it as an opportunity to add to your story, knowing that your story is going to be a long one.
And that's the end of the interview. Thank you for listening. And in the next part, we will switch roles. I will be the Jason Mraz, and Humphrey will be the Larry King. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest is Jason Mraz, a multi-platinum Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter. His 5th album, Yes, that debuted in July, got it right here. He's currently in his worldwide tour writer among his other endeavors. Jason also owns an avocado farm. How did you get to that business?
Well, I just want to live out in the woods, and when I find found this place. It turns out those trees are producing avocados. So I kept it going for a while, and then about 3 years ago, I got even more involved in starting transitioning the fruit into organic, which is now certified into organic.
Why do you want to live in the woods?
Well, I like peace, you know. As a songwriter, I found that when I sing in a hotel room or when I have an apartment in Los Angeles or anywhere else, I wouldn't express myself as loudly or openly because I was nervous about the thin walls, and something was very compelling about being out in the wilderness. Well, I can be as loud as I can be.
Is that a good business of avocados?
Yeah, depend on the year. But more recently, avocados, yeah, the demand has gone the way up because restaurants all across the US are now putting avocado as
As a health factor as well as guacamole, right? Now, is it true that you sell them to Chipotle?
It's true.
And according to Huffington Post, Chipotle uses 100,000 avocados every year.
I believe it.
How many of them do you sell?
Well, we have about 2 or 3 harvests each year. Each year, so at the most, we probably have 32 to 35,000 pounds in a year, which is a lot.
Really?
So they rely on a lot of our avocados farmers. I've heard that it's fullest the largest avocado buyers in the country.
Our raw avocados, I'll get to sing it.
Alright, no problem.
Our raw avocados the same.
They're not.
What makes a better avocado?
I have 2 varieties on my farm. I have the Reed and the Haas. Haas is what you normally see in the store. That is a classic 8 to 10 avocado. The Reed is a big melon type, and that's my favorite because you get more delicious buttery creamy avocado inside. And we use it as mayonnaise as a spread, as cream as pudding, etc. It can use for many things.
Tell me about Yes.
Okay.
That's one of your songs, Yes?
Yes is not a song. It's mentioned in a song.
So tell me about the title.
Well, the title, I love positive articulation. That's my favorite thing in the world. And I felt yes is the mother of all positive words. That when we say yes, something is going to be born into this world. And impersonally, the album came about because I met my collaborator 8 years ago. I saw them perform in live. Their band, they call it Raining Jane.
Girls?
Girls. I said, you're fantastic. Would you want to collaborate? They said, yes. As for 8 years, we said yes to getting together, making and writing music. Last year, our record label, our managers, they all said yes to the concept of making the record together. And so we felt yes was the apt title for what we are up to.
They are touring with you.
They're currently touring with me.
So you've been working 8 years while this is your first album together?
Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
Well, I was still doing
Single?
Yeah. I'm still doing my own solo project, so I hired section band for every album. They had their own band. They've been touring around the country for 15 years.
Yes can be a word that gets you in trouble.
Yes, it can.
Because it's easy to say yes than no. No is a hard word to say.
Exactly. No is more powerful.
Is this your best word you can get?
That's my best I can get.
You're not a musician that on top of cynics. Does anyone accuse you of being too positive?
Yes, yeah.
Is that a bad rap?
No, it's not. Because when I hear people accuse me of being positive, they accuse me the way they say it can't be real. You can't really be that positive all the time, and they're correct. I'm not positive all the time. What I used in songwriting is the opportunity to transform my sadnesses, my depression, my melancholy into something more positive through positive articulation and through writing these melodies set to music. And what I found important about that is the result is cheerfulness. And I find cheerfulness to be an achievement because of the work that one has to do to maintain achievement on cheerfulness. or to achieve this cheerfulness.
So your work is subjective.
Yeah, and it's in optimism that we put into a project determines that success of that project.
So are all the songs up songs?
Most, yes. And if
Like Rise, Love Someone, Hello Your Beautiful Thing, Long Drive Everywhere, Best Friend, Quiet, Out of My Hands.
absolutely, Out of My Hands might be the one song that takes a slight turn, where it's about a friend that decides they're not gonna be your friends anymore, life suddenly kind of blows, and you find yourself of being a bit accusatory. But the result of this song is saying, well, maybe sometimes, well, universe has a bigger story, and you just have to
Accept something that happened to you.
absolutely.
So all of them are personal.
Always. You know, I try to write fictional tunes, and they just don't fly.
How does that work with your collaborators, though? Is it personal to them, or you make it personal?
It's always personal. Well, the songs come out of conversations. They come out of lessons that we learned, and we want to turn those stories into songs that we can sing.
Wow! What was your first break, first hit? What made it for you?
Well, I feel like I had several along the way that would advance me into different levels throughout the years. My first hit in the mainstream world would have been called The Remedy in 2002, 2003. I have been in a coffee shop scene prior to that. I made an album while in the coffee shop scene, but that song ended up on the radio.
Is there still a coffee shop scene?
Surprisingly, there are still a coffee shop scene.
It still ended up in the folk songs.
Well, I did too, and I stumbled upon it in the 90s in San Diego. And San Diego wasn't the only city that had it, as I found out by being able to travel to other communities, other coffee shop communities. They play my shows there, and so they still exist, which is great. And I think YouTube bar artists should consider that and go out of the computer screen and make sure they spend more time in the real world, in the coffee shops.
When you were on the world tour though, how big was your finger was playing?
It can get pretty large at the moment we're touring in the theaters. I've requested that we play in small theaters or in format halls.
Next, Jason sounds the music landscape today and the pressure that produced his singles. Stay with us. A song shows a kite playing one of Jason's songs. Okay. That kid is terrific. Who's that kid?
I have no idea. I've never met him personally.
It was on YouTube.
But I've never seen him online. He's got a lot of viewers.
Wow. That's your song, I'm Yours, right?
With those fingers, and he just still committed to that song.
Why didn't you find him somewhere? He could be a hit.
He could.
He can took you that kid.
He could. He could be a type that I could follow up.
This is your first ever acoustic album, right?
Yes.
What was that? Was that all scary when you lose all the bells and the whistles?
No, it wasn't. Actually, I've been looking for the ways to sweat out the bells and whistles, and this album has plenty of bells and whistles. But I was able to choose the instruments that are more dear to my heart and more, I don't know, more interesting to me than just electricity guitars and synthesizers.
What kind of singer are you?
What kind of singer am I?
You're not R&B. You are not a rapper. You are not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm in the pop genre, of course. I grew up, I had an amazing music in my public school system, so we sing a lot of classical music, a lot of musicals, repertoire, like occasional pop songs. I grew up in listening to doo-wop music with my dad, and my mom loved the crooners, that the Freaks and the Ultras. So I always had that, but when I pick up the guitar, what comes out for me is I don't know. It's probably
You?
it's me.
What music formats stations play your music?
I had no idea.
We played on the radio.
I think so. Yeah,
You think so? I'll sell loud music if you want.
exactly. I think you still need to have 8 songs on the radio to sell a decent amount of records, but none is required anymore these days.
How do they personally call you? You said that I think it's important to earn your fan base and not to try to immediately advance to the top. If you rise to the top quickly, your ride to the fall is quickly.
Do you see a lot of that in today's landscape? One hit wonder. Oh, sorry, that's Larry
Do
King.
you see a lot of that in today's landscape while he wanders?
Yeah, I think there's always been one-hit wonders, and that we have a lot of different ways for people to quickly garner a lot of hits on the web or get a lot of fans through television, which can be okay for the artist if they're looking for a way to sustain themselves for a short term. But I think it's always important to stay connected to your audiences if you want to sustain and continue.
There is an American Idol lending itself to them too.
It can't. I think it really is up to each artist independently. You can go for a ride and have a great time, or you can use it as an opportunity to add to your story, knowing that your story is going to be a long one.
Okay,
And that's all of the interview. Thank you for your time.
bye Mark.
Goodbye.